Hello everybody and welcome to the Showcast, a series of candid conversations from film festivals and film markets everywhere, brought to you by The Film Verdict and hosted by yours truly, Matt Micucci. Today we're highlighting an exceptional work presented in the Panorama Dokumente section of this year's Berlinale. A Czech documentary shedding light on the life of lesser-known Czech photographer Libuše Jarcovjáková, titled I'm Not Everything I Want to Be. Joining us to discuss this remarkable film are its director, Klára Tasovská, and producer, Lukáš Kokeš. This ambitious documentary exclusively employs Libuše's own photographs and diary entries, narrated by the artist herself. It chronicles her intimate journey through Prague's tumultuous phases, from the repressive aftermath of the Prague Spring in 1968 to the 70s and 80s, even spanning her travels to Tokyo and Berlin. The result is a compelling portrayal of her quest for identity, daily challenges, physicality, relationships, and emotions. In our conversation with director Klára Tasovská and producer Lukáš Kokeš, we explore Libuše's life and work, dissect the complex historical context of the eras depicted in the film, and unravel the creative challenges of crafting a vibrant, feature-length narrative solely from still photography. With so much ground to cover, let's dive in. Fire up an audio teeny and listen to the audio waves as they fly through the air. This is the Showcast. Klára and Lukáš, welcome to the Showcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Hello, thanks for having us.
So first things first, you're just back from Berlin, where you presented the film I'm Not Everything I Want to Be at the Berlinale in the Panorama Dokumente section. And just to break the ice, what was that experience like? Because unfortunately, I wasn't in Berlin myself, but yeah, for you guys to be presenting a film there, one of the major film festivals in the world, what was your time there like?
Well, for me, it was like the first time when I was visiting Berlin and Berlinale especially. So the experience was complex and epic, I would say. We had 4 screenings of our film there. Every screening was sold out. People were giving us, after the screenings, really nice feedbacks. So the experience was just excellent for me.
Yeah, it was so excited and people reacted a lot, and it was a wonderful time with our team and
also the Berlinale Panorama guys, the people who selected the whole section, they were just very sympathetic and nice. So the whole experience was just perfect.
Yeah, and also Berlinale I like most of all festival. I was very happy to show my film here.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it was a great experience. The Berlinale always offers a very wide selection of diverse films, and I found your film to be quite fascinating. But before we get into the main features of the film itself, I wanted to talk about the protagonist of the movie. Can you tell us about who she is, how you discovered her, and how it was that you eventually got in touch with her to make this movie?
So the original idea came actually from Czech TV, which wanted to make TV film about Libuše for her birthday, because she had some huge exhibition in Arles Photography Festival in 2019. You know, when I first met Libuše, I was so excited about her personality and about her huge personal archive, which contains tens of thousands of negatives and also tens of thousands of diary pages, which she wrote for her whole life. So for me, it was something special, and I immediately decided to make some bigger film of her.
For me, she represents, a photographer that has been overlooked for a long time. Not only Czech photography, but I would say maybe European documentary photography is mostly represented by male photographers, by men. And there are a few female photographers. That's why Libuše attracted me personally a lot, because she offered a different kind of perspective at the world.
Yeah, some of the things you said, I definitely want to revisit again throughout the course of our conversation. And we'll also get into the historical aspect a little later on. But I wanted to ask you, just on a personal level, looking at the photographs, what was it that captivated you about them?
Well, I would say there's some kind of realness in those pictures, a strange kind of realness that I've not experienced with different photographs by different photographers. So Libuše Jarcovjáková is her full name. She has a special feeling for photography and for depicting the world around us. Klára mentioned that there has been thousands of diary pages. I would say that Libuše Jarcovjáková has also a very distinct taste for literature and for writing. So even when we read the diaries, there is special type of attention for details. For example, how she describes everything around her. And that's also something special in her photographs.
Yeah, and then we also try to find the photographs with some movement and also with Libuše's presence in it, because, I wanted to make a film which the viewers,
offer subjective experience when you look at the world through Libuše's eyes. Actually, that was also special because Libuše takes series of photographs, which was really good for the film because we could use all those series of photographs and create some kind of movement or impression of movements. Although the audience is still watching series of photographs, there is something happening in between those frames, and your brain starts to imagine the movements. So after a while, the audiences get the impression that they are really watching a film, although it's a series of photographs. And this seriality in those photographs is also special, I would say, because normally photographers publish only like privileged frames, single frames that are somehow best or most expressive somehow. But Libuše always works also with series of different photographs from one situation. That's also like unique, I would say.
Yeah, and also I wanted to make very personal movie, which allow us to look at the world through Libuše's eyes and live her story with her for a while. So.
Yeah, because some of the photographs are personal, taken in moments of just personal, intimate moments of her maybe just lying down on a bed, maybe a little bored, maybe a little sad. And then, of course, her out in the world, documenting the world around her, different parts of the world too.
Libuše always says that she's not interested in technically perfect snapshot. She always is looking and hunting for recording feelings and atmosphere, some ephemeral emotions maybe in the frames. So that's why she's not afraid to work with blurred images or technically badly exposed images. It's not important for her. For her, the expression or the expressiveness of those images is most important. And that's also something that was interesting for me.
Okay, so a couple of things that were said there. I feel it's important to emphasize for the viewers that this is a film that really compiles still photography in series, and it just kind of it's a very vibrant work because these still photographies really come alive. But at the same time, you refer to some of the challenges in kind of putting a film like that together because, let's face it, we don't see it very often done. I can only think of a very few examples that have done it. And even still, they're not like feature length. So you add effects here and there, visual effects, but also sound effects, never really overpowering the legitimate and natural work of the photography itself, which I found really great and really captivating as a viewer. But I also wanted to bring up something that you said, like Libuše sees photography as a means for expression. She's not necessarily too interested in getting stuck on technically excellent photographs. And that's really interesting because throughout the film, I think at scattered moments in the film, the way she speaks of photography is as something that is like downright keeping her alive throughout the various challenging moments that she lives through. It's almost like photography as a form of existence, or as a way to exist. So do you connect with that? as filmmakers on a personal level?
Yeah, well, I would say that it's not a story of a photographer, our film. It's more a story of a young woman who is fighting against some circumstances. She's looking for her personal freedom and looking for an answer, who she is and what's her identity. And the photography is only a tool for her, how to reflect on those topics, how to record them somehow for her personal purposes. And then thanks to it, or Klára was able to tell the whole story. But photography is just, a storyline, but there are other storylines that are way more important for me.
And also in her diary, I saw the brutal honesty and openness which could connect our photo story with it.
And there are also sort of universal topics, like what is it to be a mother, for example, or there is a line in the film, why should motherhood define the life of a woman, for example, or there is this struggle between career and personal life, or relationship with your parents who might pressure you to pursue a different career in your life. So those are like universal topics and small stories that allow us to connect with wider audiences, maybe, than if it was only a story of a photographer, how she, takes pictures and so on.
Yeah, so it was very important to me not do only biopic, but also some essay about these topics.
About life,
yeah. And women's struggles, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of universal, a lot of timeless topics. But still, the historical aspect of the film I felt was quite important. So the film begins more or less, correct me if I'm wrong, after the suppression of the Prague Spring, and traverses the 70s and the 80s a lot of the time. For those who are not familiar with this historical aspect, what is it about what was happening in Prague at the time that made Libuše want to get away from it? And do you see some of those aspects? We talked about the timelessness of your film and what it deals with. Do you see some of those aspects still somehow within society, not only in Prague, but also in different parts of the world too?
Okay, I will try to explain this. At the end of the 60s, Czechoslovakia was invaded by Russian army because the communist government in Czechoslovakia started to be more and more democratic. And the Soviet Union, headed by Russia, they didn't want to allow this to happen in Czechoslovakia. So there was this invasion to suppress these democratic movements in the society. And from that moment on, a period of so-called normalization started. And normalization is a word that describes like really brutal suppression of civil rights, of freedom of speech, of free artistic expression for many, many people. So that's why Libuše, at the beginning of our film, wants to disappear, so-called. She wants to escape this suppressive, oppressive regime that started in Czechoslovakia. And yes, actually, when we were thinking about the storyline and the overall story arc of our film, at least me, I was thinking about Ukraine, for example, right now, about Crimea, which are parts of sovereign country, Ukraine, that were invaded by Russian army because of some, ideological principles. We don't have to speak about that, but that's for me some sort of comparison, how to call it. Yeah, it's like symbolical thing that keeps repeating even nowadays.
Yeah, like history repeating itself.
So that's why we wanted to start with this Russian army. And
but it also started like that because Libuše took a photo of herself first time in this time, So
when she was 17, which happened to be at the end of the 60s. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, it is definitely like a fascinating film on the historical side of things as well, because it allows a different type of perspective on those times. We normally read about those times in history books, and this is a very, very human and original, unique way of looking at the things that happened at the time. And throughout the film, maybe we'll just mention a little bit, she does get to leave Prague through ways that are somehow strange. There's a fake wedding involved, and, there's just all these different things. She goes to Tokyo and Berlin in particular, which, by the way, I mean, just being able to travel to Tokyo around those times, it's incredible. But yeah, that's for viewers to discover when they will watch the film. Again, speaking about the behind the scenes, I wanted to know a little more about your first encounter with Libuše. What was she like? What were those early conversations that you guys had together like?
Yeah, I met her first time 5 years ago, I think, and we talk about film a lot. And
actually, it was before the COVID-19 pandemics. That's also something that we already forgot.
Yeah, so at the beginning, we thinking about, traveling to Tokyo and Berlin and I don't know.
And
shoot it something. But then COVID pandemic came and it wasn't possible. So Libuše was stuck at the home and started scan some negatives from Japan and for first time. So, and then I came to her and I saw the whole materials of her life, and I was so excited, and immediately I decided to make this film only from photos. So,
which was, for me, it was a little bit scary because, as you mentioned, we know films composed of photographs, but they are, for example, 25-30 minutes long. It's not only La Jetée by Chris Marker, but also Agnes Varda made a film in the 60s only composed from photographs. But Klára wanted to make a full-length film. I was a little bit, nervous about it. But then Klára and the editor, Sasha Kasheyev, they made first 10-minute video, like a testing video. And we saw immediately that it works. Together with the sound design and with the music, we have to also mention the big role of the sound design in this movie. And then I was, I believe that it's possible. And it was actually thanks to COVID that we decided to make it precisely this way.
Yeah, it helped somehow. But for me, it was only way how to make this film because, I didn't want to add some new images to the Libuše stories because why?
And Libuše, during our first meeting, it was right after her big exhibition in France in this photographic festival in Arles. So she was like a big discovery for European photography, and there were other exhibitions to be expected at that time. Like in Spain, in Netherlands, and so on. But COVID stopped everything. So after a while, Libuše was, a little bit maybe depressed because everybody was depressed. But it gave her and Klára as well energy to work on the film and to work with the archive. She was like really sucked into the process together with us.
Yeah, I mean, does she do the narration as well?
Yes, it's her voice.
Yeah, and also she was curious how her whole photography story looks like. So it's also important to her that someone else could bring some pictures of herself. So
together, yeah, because every time she publishes a book, and now she's working on a new book about the Tea Club, which was the, let's call it, semi-legal underground LGBTQ club in communist Prague. She should publish this book soon. But every time she works on a project like this, she always takes only a small part of the photographic archive, which is like Tea Club or, auto portraits, or the time in Tokyo, for example, the time in Berlin. These are always fragments. And the film is a complex story, and Libuše saw it also for the first time in this complex, in this complex shape.
Yeah, also we spent almost 2 years in editing room to do it. So it was, demanding work. So
nobody would dare it.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, it's like I can't even, I'm not even patient enough to put a puzzle together. One of the ones that you buy in the shop, but like making your way through, I mean, how many photographs did you have in front of you? I mean, stunning photographs, but still, I can only assume that they've been thousands of photographs, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, one time we had on our computer, I think 70,000 of photos. And then because our film contains 3,000 of photos. So yeah, it was huge work.
So out of 70,000, 3,000? That's a lot, actually.
Yeah, but it was very creative work. So I was happy for that. And yeah.
I always like, for the listeners to be able to imagine what type of work it was. It was like really putting one image after another on the film timeline. And you do it for such a long time that at the end you have 90 minutes of it. So it's like... It's something, maybe it's like animation or something like that.
Yeah, but also first draft cut had, I think, 2.5 hours. So then we...
it was 4,000 images maybe.
Yeah. And
wow. Yeah, it could be a form of animation now that I think about it. That's an interesting observation in a sense. Very, very fascinating to hear you guys talk about this film, all right. Yeah, you mentioned at the start of the film, Libuše is very excited about an exhibition. And she says, finally, this is like, she refers to that call from Al being, something that she'd been waiting for all her life. So just to conclude our conversation a little bit, do you think that this film will help raise awareness of her work and just help her photographs being recognized more?
I hope so, because now also some festivals want to make her some exhibitions, and also we try to show our film to the photographic festivals, so maybe it helps.
There is a possibility to connect a film screening with a small exhibition, for example. So that's something we would like to try to do. There is a funny story. Libuše was telling us a story that she would really wish for a big exhibition in the biggest, she would dream about it in the biggest gallery in Prague. In case this will not happen in the future, there will still be our film. And the film is like the biggest exhibition of her work that has been made so far.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Absolutely. So, guys, thank you very much for joining me. It's been really great talking about this film, which I found very exciting, and to find out more about Libuše as well. Yeah, I found this film to be quite exciting, and hopefully people will be able to check it out. But thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks for inviting us, and thanks for putting some spotlight on our film.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed our conversation on the film I'm Not Everything I Want to Be, showcased at this year's Berlinale. The film is truly exceptional, offering a unique perspective worth keeping an eye on. And for all you cinephiles out there, this is just the beginning of what promises to be an exciting year of cinematic exploration on the Showcast. Our aim is to bring you weekly episodes, so be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, whatever that may be. And let us know where it is that you listen to your podcasts. And if we're not there yet, we'll try to deliver the Showcast to you. It's just an excellent way to listen to captivating conversations with intriguing artists and industry professionals, and more esteemed guests sharing their thoughts and views on the art of film. Whether you're tuning in during your daily commutes or looking for something to listen to during those multitasking moments of the day, the Showcast is your go-to destination. So, till the next time, from the Film Verdict, this is Micucci signing off. See you soon.